Alright, welcome back. Here we are. I have left on my device about an hour's worth of information. That's plenty enough time for me to get this in. Steps 4 through 6. Okay, now I told you earlier that I would make note of those things that the front door methoders would be interested in using. Now, I talked about the rat method. And I've been talking about the mindset, how there are no cheats, investigators sharing information, and what to do with that shared knowledge. Okay, we're going to move on. None of that really should be applied to those who are using the front door method because it makes the game too fast-paced and too intense. But if you're wanting something that's still well-paced and still investigative, and you're using the front door method, this is for you. This is also for those who like the rat method. So here we are. One of the things you're going to look for, no matter what investigative path you're using in this game, is coined phrases. I should say are. My apologies. Poor English. Coined phrases, logos, and look, pay special attention to the detail that's in them. Mantras, patterns and or recurring themes, and red flag material. Let me just touch back on logos for a second. Logos can be very symbolic. Alright, that's why you pay attention to the detail. Red flag material, what the heck is that? Okay, you can see here written, it is that which has made the subject in question popular and attracts more people to the subject. It will most often, by the way, be the second most obvious thing. Now, in this particular game, we find that color is the most obvious theme. I will leave it up to you to decide what is the second most obvious theme. The next thing you need to be paying attention for, and this goes for everybody who's doing the investigative playing of this game, are events. So, I'm going to try to not spoil the game for you. So I'm just going to make up a situation here. Let's say you're playing a game and you find out that the subject in question had a booth at a county fair. And you know what year that county fair was. Well, you know who attended because you went and you looked at the guest book and people who bought tickets for that county fair that year. So, you begin to ask the stall holders who surrounded that particular booth, their opinion of that booth, and its wares and its interactions, how long it was open, that sort of thing, the kind of people that were there, maybe some names of the people that were there who were watching that booth and keeping an eye on it, and how those people interacted with the other stall holders in that section. You might look into the guest book and find out, who would have had the most interaction with that booth just as a facilitator, faculty, staff, janitors, and just people passing through to see what their opinion of that booth was. That's the sort of thing that I'm talking about here, events. Alright, this is another thing for our front door methoders as well as our rat methoders. Gut feelings. There's a lot of psychological connections there. And look, I'm not going to ruin this for you. This is another part of the education that these kinds of games can provide. So I'm going to tell you that if you want a full understanding of why gut feelings are what they are, look into the psychological connections of that. It's a very deep subject. It's huge. All right, and that will eat up a lot of game time if you're doing what I recommended in the first video, which is pace yourself and try not to spend too much time in this game. You need to make sure that you're still, taking care of your health and you're still doing those basic things that you need to do to take care of yourself and all of that. So, yeah, this particular subject will eat a lot of that time. So, just know that now. So if it's not something that you want to look into, yeah, okay, fine. But I just found the connections there very interesting, and the authors of this have been very thorough in how they present it. It's really well written. So make note of those gut feelings, by the way, because it's interesting the number of those gut feelings actually really turn into something later on that presented themselves as evidence right there in the foreground, but you maybe had no words for that. You had no way of saying, oh, this is uncomfortable because. But there is no because. It's just a gut feeling. You look at something and you go, oh, what? Or maybe you hear something and you think, oh, wait a minute, why did I just get uncomfortable about that? And in the gameplay, just make note of that in your own time and just write out what it was, maybe take a photograph, do an audio recording, something, a screenshot, and just write uncomfortable feeling. That's it. That's all you got to do for those. But it can be anything. It can be photos, images, fan art for that matter. I mentioned that earlier. Handwriting and doodling. That's another really seriously intense subject. I think it's called graphology, but don't hold me to that. And look, check into things that are mentioned in passing or hardly ever spoken of, because those can be clues in the gameplay as well. And that which may be forbidden or is definitely forbidden. And this can be forbidden in photos, images. It can be something that you're not supposed to say, or a song you're not supposed to sing. Is any of that sort of stuff. Or maybe something that is a gut feeling you wouldn't want to say because you think, oh, maybe that's not something that's welcome in this environment. And I put frog eyes around that because of the name of the game, which is Welcome Home. So, last but not least, we talk about step 6. And this is where it gets a little bit different. Alright, so for those who are using the RAP method, I'm going to recommend that you follow up on that red flag material that I mentioned earlier. Those things that made the subject more popular or attracted more attention and attracted more people towards the subject. Yeah, follow up on that, because that's going to intensify the finding of clues and the feelings that you get while you're playing the game. It's very intense. It's a wonderful experience. Make note of what you find. And look, this is going to sound really monotonous, guys, but when you're playing an interactive game like this that grows and develops as time passes, because the creators don't release everything straight off, you're going to have to wait for things to be released to the public, okay? And as such, you're going to have to repeat steps 3 through 6. I nearly said 5, as you can see here. There's a little mistake there. Repeat steps 3 through 6 every time new material comes out, or every time you find new material. It might not be new to everybody else, but it's new to you. And so what that means, I'll just pull out my notes here, is repeating from, alright, that's 4. Here's 3. Repeating from talking to other individuals who have been playing the game, other player investigators, and reviewing what those player investigators collected as information. Then you go through all those same steps that we mentioned earlier, and depending on whether you're doing the front door method or the RAP method, is going to dictate whether you go through steps 3 through 6 or 4 through 5. If you're doing the front door method, I recommend 4 through 5, because 3 is more about a fast-paced way of getting really down into the depths of the rabbit warren, if you will. Whereas when you start at step 4, you're simply collecting the information that's kind of more on the surface and gives you a less intense pace, and yet you're still investigating in the gameplay. And then you still, have those gut feelings that you're checking up on and making note of, but you're not checking in on any red flag material. So, yeah, these are the ways that I recommend playing the game and how to play the game. Now, as I have said in my first video, I do not know the protocol for how to handle the information after you have already collected it. I know that people have vlogs and blogs and stuff like that. I have collected quite a bit of information. I like to believe I'm on the right track. Everybody likes to believe they're on the right track. But I don't really know anything more than this. This is just how I've been enjoying the game, and I hope that this has been helpful and educational. Have fun.